Why, Lisa? Why, Lisa? You're tearing me apart, Lisa! Why so hysterical? Hello, welcome to a movie review about the film that I watched 2 days ago now, called The Room, which came out in 2003, starring Tommy Wiseau and his best friends, and his best friend Greg Sestero as Mark. And The Room is a movie that's a bit of a love story revolving around Lisa, who is known as Johnny's, well, he calls her future wife, instead of like fiance or anything, his future wife. And anyway, later Lisa pretty much has an affair with and sleeps with his best friend Mark. So basically the character of Lisa is a slut. Or a player, depending how you put it, bluntly. Anyway, and the character of Johnny, played by Tommy Wiseau, who, as you see in the beginning credits, he's done a lot of work to this movie. Not only did he direct it, starring it, produced it, did a lot for it, because you see his name many times in the beginning credits of the film, like during the opening scene. Now, the opening scene is pretty funny because you see him entering the room and Lisa, and you next minute see their weirdo friend Denny, who's a young boy who pretty much says he likes to watch, but they tell him to kind of go, well, not to go away is the line, but they say a line where they like, we want to be left alone or something like that. And next minute it goes into the very first sex scene of the movie, start with Tommy Wiseau's character Johnny and the character of Lisa having sex to this terrific song. Now, I've actually watched the scene since watching the movie The Room. I just find that this scene is really a lot of fun. The music, the song I love this song. Like, I think I will actually, when I buy an iTunes card next time, download this song and a few other songs that played in the movie The Room with the sex scenes. Now, it might be just my opinion, but I actually found the sex scenes in the movie almost like watching an erotic movie or like watching softcore pornography. Like, it was kind of done in that sort of way. I mean, not like hardcore porn where you would see like the whole like genitalia and like the whole explicit penetrative sex thing, but soft sort of porn, like in a sort of more loving romantic style of way with great music. And that's one of my favorite songs, as well as the other song later that played, Crazy, in a very similar sex scene. Now, the funny thing about this movie is not only the hilarious lines or bad dialogue, which I'm going to say a few of the lines from that movie, which I've already done with the "You're Tearing Me Apart, Lisa" one, but there were some other hilarious lines, like a scene where he walks to buy a dozen red roses, please. And the lady's like, oh, I didn't recognize it. It was you, Johnny. And he walks past this dog that is sitting there, and he's like, hi, doggy. That scene is freaking funny and hilarious. Now, another scene that's pretty funny and hilarious is on a rooftop, and it's like, Tommy Wiseau's character pretty much comes out of this thing, which I don't really get why there's this sort of thing that they come walking out of into a rooftop that's never really explained. Where a lot of this movie has scenes that don't make sense and aren't really explained, but are just freaking funny. And anyway, he's like, I did not hit her. I did not. Oh, hi, Mark. Which I think is that made me laugh too. That scene was pretty funny. Now, another scene that was pretty funny was when Lisa's mum came out, when you see the character's Lisa mum talking to her about that she should love Johnny treats her right and that Johnny is pretty awesome. she sort of goes into this scene where it's like, I have breast cancer. But you never hear about it again. Like, there's no discussion like, oh, that's terrible, mum. I didn't know that. And or Lisa starting to cry because her mum has breast cancer. There is no ever mention of Lisa's mum having breast cancer again. And that's pretty fucking funny. And why I think that's pretty funny is because it doesn't make sense. It's like, you mention it, there's no, like, even sad emotions to this woman having breast cancer. It's a pretty ridiculous movie, but I found it very entertaining. This other scene that's interesting is about a guy that, or a girl that Mark knew on Geraldo Street or whatever the street is called. Geraldo, I think I'm saying it right. I'm not sure. Anyway, and he's like, this woman was beaten up so badly on Geraldo Street or whatever, and Tommy Wiseau's character Johnny kind of laughs at something that's not funny, which I actually found kind of amusing, even though it's kind of disturbing hearing about this guy who beat up a girl so badly. You're meant to react with that sort of thing, like, shit, that's terrible. Why would a guy do that to a woman? That's terrible to beat her up. But Tommy Wiseau's character laughs it off, and it's like, what a story, Mark. And like, come on. That's not even funny, but he laughs at it. And throughout the movie, he does laugh at things that are not really funny, but he must find it amusing. And the other sex scene involving Johnny and Lisa is very similar to the first ever sex scene with Lisa and Johnny. It's like it felt like Tommy Wiseau wanted to repeat a scene in the film. He's like, I don't know how to write a sex scene very well. Maybe I have to write it very similar to first sex scene, but maybe different music. That's how I sort of felt about one of the other sex scenes with Lisa and the character of Johnny. Now I'm going to mention this sex scene with now Lisa cheating on Johnny with his mate Mark on the stairway. That sex scene is pretty cool as well, and that music is pretty damn awesome as well. And Lisa is a beautiful blonde actress. Has a great feature about it. Like, her breasts are pretty incredible. And now I'm going to sort of not reverse, but go a little bit forward later into the movie, towards the end of the movie of The Room. Actually, I'm going to talk about this football scene on the rooftop. Like, they go and play football like they're going off to somebody's wedding in tuxedos. Now, this scene also doesn't make sense very much with the storyline. This movie has a lot of subplots that don't make sense, that you'd probably see in like a situational comedy movie, or you'd see something like this in like a Monty Python movie almost. Like, some of the scenes seem like so hilarious. You'd see this in something like a sketch comedy, and it doesn't matter that it doesn't make sense. Like, they're playing football in tuxedos. Like, WTF, what the fuck? But that was pretty funny. And the psychiatrist character is pretty hilarious in the movie, as well as Denny, Mark, and I'm just going to say straight up, Lisa the slut. Anyway, that scene is pretty damn funny as well, so I thought I'd quickly mention in that scene as well. This movie has a lot of corny acting and a lot of hilarious scenes that don't make sense as well. Now I'm going to go towards the end of the movie now in this review, and I'm going to be talking about the party scene at the end. Oh my god. This party scene at the end of the film, at Johnny's party, where all his friends and people are invited, Lisa tells people to go outside and wait, while she hangs out with Mark and starts kissing Mark and stuff. And a friend knows about this, that a friend of Johnny, and they sort of talk to Lisa, why you should tell the truth, you're going to be hurting his feelings and whatnot. And then later it goes back to the party with a scene where Lisa's kissing Mark and Johnny catches him, and he's like, what, with his strange voice that Tommy Wiseau uses, or well, not uses, but the way he speaks, he pretty much says, "What are you doing to me, Lisa? Why are you doing this?" He's like, and Mark defends her, like, "You're not interested in or something anymore or whatever," to Johnny. And Johnny gets angry with him and they have a bit of a ramble fight. Now, the fight scene is pretty amusing too, just the way it's done, so cartoonish like, which a lot of this movie has these like animated type, silly, corny ways of talking and acting. Well, the whole movie does. Anyway, this scene pretty much is like, "Don't touch me, motherfucker." In the way he says it so dramatically, he's like, "Don't touch me, motherfucker," which I thought was pretty funny. And he's like, "You're just a chicken, chip, 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 chip," which he's used before in the movie. I think that line is pretty funny. "You're just a chicken, chip, 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 chip." I feel like saying that jokingly with somebody one day. Like, that line is pretty fucking funny. That fight scene was pretty interesting until later he storms off. Now let's get to the end scene now with Tommy Wiseau's character, Johnny, his last ever scene. His last ever scene to me was actually really goodly acted. Now I thought that this was probably the scene where he's like, "I know how to write a movie now." And anyway, this scene, I thought the acting was superb. Like, he locks himself in the room. She tries to call him and talk to him and like, "You betrayed me," and all that sort of thing. And anyway, he pretty much then gets all angry. He just throws the TV out of the window, smashes up a mirror, and he grabs like one of Lisa's red dresses and he looks like he's sort of dry humping. Well, that's how I got the feeling, that he was dry humping Lisa's red dress, which I thought was kind of amusing as well, now that I think about it. And then oh my god, the most dramatic scene ever is when he grabs a gun that he must own. And he pretty much commits suicide and he shoots himself in the mouth and he drops down dead. Now that scene, oh my god, no. No, no, no. How can you do that, Johnny? How can you do that? I need help after this scene. You're tearing me apart. And anyway, he pretty much commits suicide. And then Lisa comes along and Mark and Denny, and you can tell Mark is very upset with Lisa and that she's sort of ended up almost like killing this guy indirectly by cheating with Mark, because they're all upset. Even Lisa's crying. Mark's all upset. Denny's upset. They all really respect Johnny in his death scene. Like, even Lisa has realised her cheating drove this guy to committing suicide. Pretty much, she just ended up unintentionally or intentionally, but not committing a murder, by this guy really losing it and him killing himself. Now I felt that scene, I had to mention that scene was absolutely brilliant. I think the final scene was probably the best acting in the whole entire movie. All up, I did enjoy The Room, and I will be watching this movie again. I've even picked certain scenes to watch just for fun of watching, even if I'm not watching the whole movie, like some of the hilarious sex scenes, and the acting was just freaking funny. All up, I really enjoyed The Room, and I thought that The Room was a terrific movie. Yes, the acting was pretty bad, but hilarious and really very quite funny. All up, I found The Room a very entertaining movie, and I can't wait to watch it again. Good on you, Tommy Wiseau. Good on you, all the actors, and I'll see you next time in more movie reviews as well. And it was also good to watch The Disaster Artist on the same afternoon again that I did a review about before I watched The Room. Both terrific movies. And I'll see you in the next movie reviews and other reviews that I'll be doing as well, including my sex and relationship series that I'll be doing as well. So I hope you enjoyed my fairly long movie review about Tommy Wiseau's 2003, one of the worst movies ever made, but Very, very funny, and I loved it. Big 10 out of 10 for me. And you're tearing me apart! Many people, please watch more of my reviews. Lisa.